the ball, and Denver has recovered. Oh, my.
Dempsey kicks. It's on the way. It is. Good. It's good.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Oh, he caught it. Oh, unbelievable.
And there we go.
I was trying to do a high five around.
High five on each side. Yeah, I didn't. Never did I get a chance to make that a full screen thing. It is a very annoying thing. But when you see it on YouTube, it doesn't look like it fills the screen more somehow. I'm not sure why. Well, welcome everybody, episode 13 of the FOMfanatics podcast. An exciting one because we are going into playoffs, and we get to talk about playoffs for both FOMFA and for Ben Wyatt. How's it going, Phil?
Yeah, not bad. I'm excited. Excited we've got some guests this week.
Yeah, we're gonna have some people jumping in to do a little chatting, maybe a little bit of trash talking, maybe a little woeing over the season that once was.
It's true. I'm really excited about the trophy ideas we've had for Ben Wyatt. I'm really disappointed I won't be wearing that hat. And, but I think it's a brilliant way of having a trophy for that league.
Now that we've got that decision made, I so want to win. I really want that. I want to be the first Ledgerman.
Your wife better make fun of you if you're ever.
I'm gonna wear it for like a week straight, so there's no way she can't make fun of me. It's gonna be odd for nonstop. And I got a beer with me today, so I'm gonna beer it up a little bit.
I have way too much late harvest wine that I'm trying to get through, so I'm working through that.
Was that what you ended up giving your staff?
Yeah,
the late harvests.
I also baked 3 different batches. Well, you got the cookies too.
Yeah,
but,
fucking yeah. By the way, anyone who's listening to this, Phil is ridiculously, like, oddly and almost questionably good at making cookies. Like, these are like store level cookies. I'm trying to convince him to open up a little online shop.
Yeah, what I've been accused of is being a master baker. I just want to clear that up. Master baker.
I've suggested that a store should be called the Vigorous Master Baker, and it sells itself. I mean, what else do you think after hearing that than let's eat some cookies? That could be nasty in many ways. Anywho's, should we start off with that? I mean, we've already branded to FOMFA, so I think we can get this thing kicked off talking FOMFA. What do you think, Phil?
Well, I think we have to talk FOMFA because Ryan is time limited, and I believe he's our first guest despite not being in the playoffs.
All right, so let me send Ryan the link. If he is, so you said, let's see, how do we do this? I haven't done this in a while.
You just sent me the link.
I haven't had a guest in a while. Oh, I guess it is the same link.
I'm a guest, essentially, yes.
So I sent him a link. If he wants to jump in and chat, that'll be fun. But yeah, Ryan, for those in Ben Wyatt that don't know, that was probably the most exciting end to a game with really serious implications that could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, going into the Monday night game, Ryan was not looking good. And then Cole Beasley came out hot.
He was like the only target.
Yeah,
like, he was the only target for a while.
All of Cyril's players were doing nothing, and Ryan built a steady lead. And Cyril was chipping into it a little in the second half, but it was looking pretty good. Like if the Rams got the ball back, they were basically going to end the game. And San Francisco was driving. Cyril just had Jordan Reed. And we all know what happened now, but at the time it was like, well, I mean, the odds are low. They have to score, and it has to go to Jordan Reed. And Ryan's stream, I guess, was ahead of mine because I saw him curse through.
Yeah, I saw that too.
The chat. I think I know what is about to happen here.
And that was it. That's all she wrote. And with that, I see Ryan is around. Should we bring Ryan into the conversation?
Yeah, let's bring him in.
What's up, buddy? 100% cotton.
Really cannot hear you guys.
Can you not?
Really super choppy. I don't know what's going on.
Can you hear me, or can you just not hear?
There's just a ton of feedback. I can hear you, but it's like crackling like crazy. I don't know.
Is that? I don't know why. I'm not.
I think it's just his headphones. The audio is fine.
Might be your headphones.
Now we can't hear Ryan as he's muted himself.
When I muted myself, the crackle went away, and now it's gone. So there we
go. All right. Tech problem solved. So how are you feeling after a few days of of grief?
You know what? I've come to terms with it. Monday night was real shit. But you know what? It is what it is. It's fantasy football. You win some, you lose some, and I don't know. Hopefully, I can beat Khalil this week. But 7-6, it's like a crapshoot whether I win or not. So
I mean, your record understates your point score. Like you, out of the division, like there's a very, very tight division race for those who haven't been following FOMFA. Ryan was far and away the best team in the division, like hundreds of points above the next best team. But that doesn't always matter. And if you're wondering why Jam just disappeared, Ryan, it's because his internet connection is garbage. So he'll be back at some point.
But he's the host, so he
He's the
can
host,
somehow
but-
still.
Everyone can still see it. Sorry, I just have to go lock the door because my kid's home and he's gonna.
Oh no!
Charging
Crackle's back.
That can't be me. That can't be me just returning.
So,
Okay,
given
there we go.
what happened with your season, I think it's an interesting time to do a retrospective of how you got there. Because, well, the record was unfortunate. You scored a lot of points, and you made a lot of trades going into the year. So it's going to be interesting to go back and look through what you did and how you felt that all turned out.
Sure.
And I think if we're going to talk about Ryan's trades, then I think Chris's comment is really.
The bugle is here. It's just it's not right beside me.
sad. It would be a sad bugle this time.
Yeah. I don't know how to. I clearly don't know how to make any noises on it properly. But if I tried to make a sad bugle, it would probably be extra sad.
You need that like trombone sound. That wah, wah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, what was my approach this year? It was like I thought I was coming into the season in decent shape, and then Jason just went crazy and started trading for everybody, all the running backs, and when he went all in, and then David was talking a bunch of smack, and I don't remember if he made any trades or if he was just mouthing off as per usual, but.
David continues to be the most frustrating fantasy football player because he has been successful 2 years in a row and has no idea what he's doing. And it's really frustrating that he continues to be successful.
He's also king of the immediate take. Like Christian McCaffrey will come back on his first carry. He'll get stuffed at the line or something, and David will be like, "That's it. This guy's garbage. He's done."
Trade him.
Yeah. I think David actually does know more than we give him credit for.
He's definitely learned a lot over the last couple of years.
His reactions are just like pure aggravating. That's what drives me insane. It's like his
rival.
Yeah, he does. Although this year somehow I was less angry about David and like focused on him. Maybe because Khalil was also there and it was a three-way battle. And it was really a five-way battle with you and Jason and the other side for that wild card spot. So I had less focus on being upset with David's crazy comments, or it's just another year of getting used to him. I don't know. But
yeah, we're used to him. I thought that his team would tank on so many occasions because
me too.
He's a very top-heavy team. Got hit by a lot of injuries. Like key injuries, Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, and still found ways to win.
And Raheem Mostert. At one point, he was starting just two idiots at running back.
Well, he had Mike Davis, who somehow
filled in pretty well.
Filled into almost McCaffrey levels, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is you could look at, I would argue every team in the league except maybe Doug and Israel have had pretty horrific injuries this year. It was a bad year for injuries for everybody. Yeah. I mean, Phil, you lost Saquon and probably a couple other people. I can't remember.
Like every week, people were gone. It's just Saquon was the only one for like the whole year.
It hit Jason's team late too. Like late in the season, it hit Jason's team to the point where he almost didn't make the playoffs, which is wild.
Yeah. So I mean, what really boggles my mind is how Israel made it through with Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, and the Johnson & Johnson brothers from my squad.
Yeah.
And none of them got injured. Well,
they all stayed relatively healthy.
One of the Johnsons got injured, but the other one was there thanks to Cotton's bailing him out and giving him some depth.
Aaron Jones was out for like a week. But
Yeah, exactly.
It
And
wasn't significant.
Henry didn't miss any time, I don't think. So, anyways, that's the way the fantasy cookie crumbles. But I mean, my thought going into the year was I was going to try and be competitive. Then everyone else started loading up, so I figured I had to do something similar. And I was like trapped in my parents' house while we were renovating my house with nothing else going on. So I started just like digging into trade opportunities. I've always been happy to chat with people through not LinkedIn, through WhatsApp. And I don't know, some things started, once the pieces started falling, they all started falling. And the big trade for me was the one that gave me the most heartburn, I think, was the one with Jason. The Mahomes trade, I think, was involved. I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically half of his current roster came from me in exchange for Miles Sanders, the guy that's on Philly that sucks, that Phil has. So yeah, I mean, that trade, I didn't really want to give up as much as I did, but Jason was persistent and being Jason about it, and I needed to make some deal to keep up with him. And I thought Khalil, who had some really rough breaks with injuries. So I don't know. I think looking back on those deals, that one, it may turn out bad for me in the end. I think the one that's really going to kick me in the nuts for years to come is Antonio Gibson to Luis for Minkah Fitzpatrick and a second-round pick. Now, I had already traded that second-round pick to Phil as part of the Kamara deal in my head when I made that trade. So it was really Minkah Fitzpatrick and XYZ Sanders, whatever the hell his name is.
Miles Sanders is not a
Don't pretend like you don't know Miles Sanders.
I actively avoid the Eagles as best as possible. And now, 5 years later, my not drafting Carson Wentz does not look like a bad idea.
You drafted, who was the Broncos QB?
Who did you draft?
Oh, that guy that's totally sucked and was worth nothing.
And isn't in the league anymore, yeah. So, regardless of Wentz
Paxton Lynch.
Yes. Regardless of if Wentz is trash now, he is still the better option than Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, okay, fair. Anyways, I feel like Antonio Gibson for Minkah Fitzpatrick and whatever happened with Kamara doesn't matter because him and Sanders both left my team. But that one, I feel like Gibson's got a long road ahead of him. And
he's been solid.
That was a real solid pick for me at, I think, 207 or 208 last year. Got really lucky with the juice being loose or whatever the hell that guy's name was.
Simpson?
Geis. Geis, Juice.
Guy went on a beating rampage.
Yeah, the guy that
got himself kicked off the team.
Couldn't somehow stop breaking the law and got evicted from the NFL.
Still sounds like you're talking about O.J. Simpson to me.
Well, it might be. Maybe there's something in this name, like it was foreshadowing.
Anyhow, you couldn't help it.
So I feel like that trade's going to bite me in the ass. At some point in the frame of those trades, I had Antonio Brown too, briefly, who Phil said for no uncertain circumstances, Phil was adamant that he was not going to play this year.
I genuinely believe I was wrong, but
lost my camera.
He killed the Scotty Miller shares that people had because he basically just has taken all of that. Like Scott Miller's been nothing since AB got on the team.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm sure that if Phil, you have some time over the holidays and you want to put together a true retrospective of points scored for the people I had versus what it worked out to be in the end, I would be happy to see that, but I haven't done that, nor do I think I will do that.
No.
I think it's a little bit hard to track in the sense that a lot of your moves were in the midst of other moves, like the one about Mara and like was Miles Sanders ever going to be on your team?
No.
You made 20 trades this year.
That's probably more trades than I made in all of the previous seasons combined.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Now, a lot of these trades are things like Darren Fells for a 7th round pick, where it's like, who cares? There's a few worth talking about. One of the early ones was with Wario, where Wario gave up Kerryon Johnson, Albert O'Queg. I'm never going to say his name right. The Broncos tight end, Albert O, and a third. You gave up Chase Edmonds, Sternberger, and a second. This one, I'm curious what your thoughts were. It didn't end up working out too well. Chase Edmonds has actually been serviceable, while Johnson less so. But was the hope that, I guess, Johnson ends up taking more carries? Or
yeah, that was before they signed Adrian Peterson. I think it was after they drafted.
Yeah, it's definitely after they drafted Swift. But.
Yeah, so I had thought.
The situation is so hard to tell, though.
I had thought that they were actually going to let Swift not run right away, which they did, but they brought in Peterson. And so that one kind of destroyed that trade for me. It helped me on the well, nope, it didn't, because actually I traded Gibson before the Redskins released him. Sorry, the football team released him. So I got double screwed by Adrian Peterson.
This old man just keeps screwing over.
Just screwing away there, AP. Anyway, so yeah, that the thought there was, I had at that point in time, I think my running backs were David Johnson and Damian Williams, and Damian Williams had decided to sit out a season. So I think I was only having David Johnson at that point, and thinking I was going to sign somebody in free agency, ended up with James White, who didn't really do much, and also traded him away. But I was looking for a serviceable running back who I thought was going to have starter minutes at the beginning of the season. Didn't end up being the truth. And it pained me to give away Chase Edmonds. I really did. I held on to him for quite a while as a backup. I traded him just before he turned into more than a backup. But I don't know. I wanted something more immediate than waiting on Edmonds. And I thought that Kerryon would not flame out as drastically as he did.
I mean, we had some chats about Gibson trade involving Mixon and and a pick, I think. And in retrospect, that would have been a damn fine trade to make.
Yeah.
At the time, it was like, what is Gibson's role? Like, it's like they still had AP. They still had they had. I don't think Gweiss had left the team yet.
Yeah,
and on his rampage yet. So it's hard to say. And also, Mixon ended up being injured for a good chunk of this year, especially during the important times. Is he expected to be back for the playoffs? I don't think so.
He might be back at some point. He's not coming back this week.
I don't feel like they'll rush him back. Like, Cincinnati has nothing to play for, right?
Well, why would they? Right? They paid him a lot of money. Might as well keep him healthy.
So yeah, that was that thinking behind that trade. There were some other bad ones I made really early on that I wanted to I was trying to shore up holes. I didn't think I was going full overhaul yet. So
I mean, most of those
trading for Dwayne Haskins was a pretty bad one. I think I gave up a low pick, but
yeah, you didn't give up anything of value. So most of those ones didn't really matter too much. The big ones were Gibson, like you mentioned. The other one that I don't think turned out well in retrospect was, the one where you got Miles Sanders. I mean, you traded him ultimately for Kamara, but then Kamara left too. But you gave up Mahomes, Roquan Smith, Jamal Adams, and a first-round pick, getting back, in addition to Miles Sanders, Zach Cunningham, who I know you had good thoughts about, Landon Collins, Duke Johnson, Matthew Stafford, a third and a fourth. I think we knew going into it what Mahomes is, so that's not a shock. And a first round picks value. I think the painful thing is honestly Smith and Adams, who are good players, but there's still, I think with Roquan, there's still some sort of a question. Because he's always been a good linebacker, but in terms of how he's performed for fantasy, he hasn't actually looked that good. So going into the season,
until this year, he's looked
exactly better. He did exactly what Miles Jack did for me. I was like, okay, screw this guy. It's like, oh, now you're good all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that one, like, it hurt me even more to give up those guys because I drafted both of them. Like, they were on my team from the draft, and so anyway, I think you have to put that trade in conjunction with the one that came with Israel later on, where I moved Cunningham and Duke Johnson, and that was the trade that I think netted me.
You got Julio out of that.
Julio,
right?
there you go. I don't know. I can't remember. But
yeah, that happened October 2nd. It wasn't really a part of this trade.
No, it wasn't. But it allowed me to, I think, make another trade that I thought was making me better.
Yeah, and I think that trade did.
I think we universally were just like, I don't know what Israel's doing in this trade because it seems like he's addressing a next game problem.
Yeah, but go back and look at that. He was, because he was deadly short on running backs. But if you go back and look at that trade, Cunningham performed very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landon Collins got injured, so that was unfortunate, but he will be back.
It is what it is, yeah.
I mean, you stack up. If you look at Israel's defense, especially his safeties, he's got Landon Collins, Buda Baker,
Derwin James still?
Does he have Buda? Or maybe someone else.
For what it's worth, Landon Collins, you sent him in a different trade in August, one that gave you Malcolm Jenkins, Irv Smith, and a second-round pick.
God damn. Okay.
Lazard.
Well,
actually,
who else was in that trade with Israel, though? Can't remember.
What, the Julio one?
Yeah.
That one was David Johnson, Duke Johnson, Robert Woods, and Zach Cunningham. And then you got out of it James Conner, Julio, Logan Wilson, and I think what Jam and I laughed about, a 5th-round pick.
There was
the values of the players.
Believe me, there was a lot of negotiation back and forth.
I will not do this without the 5th-round pick. That's the sticking point.
The hardest part about that trade was both Israel and I were like totally out of cap space, so I had to make the salaries line up 100%. Or so I thought, until I looked at his roster after the trade, and he had like 4 guys on IR that he could have just put onto IR and had a bunch of space. So I was like, what the fuck? Because that one took me like a week of just moving pieces around and crunching numbers to try and get the salaries to work.
I had the exact same experience trying to trade when I did the trade with Russell Wilson and a bunch of others to Israel for the pick. Like, just making it work on Israel's team was like damn near impossible. But we made it happen, and
there you go.
Israel seems to agree. There he is. Like Israel's
he's listening. There you go. I'm pulling for you, buddy. I want to see my former players hoist that trophy.
I'd like to see Israel do well. That'd be like I think it's a blessing that he didn't get any injuries because he didn't have the depth.
Israel has been in the playoffs more than any other owner, so it's nice to see Israel do. He always does well. This isn't actually that big of a shot. I think last year might have been the first year he wasn't in the playoffs.
Yeah, last year was Turret from our division, and the wild card went to Sandwich.
Okay, boys, I'm having a baby bowel explosion. I'm needed upstairs. I got to bounce, but I'll join back on another time. Have you on any time? Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and best of luck to you in the waffle jam.
All right, thanks, buddy.
See ya.
One trade that we didn't get to before we get off that topic was what Chris is bringing up. I don't know what got him Dak, but that was a bummer.
So Dak was one that was he ended up giving up Darius Leonard to get Dak, but he got Michael Gallup in it, and he didn't really give up anything other than Darius Leonard. So
and Gallup did better than I expected. I thought the Gallup's touches would all go to CeeDee Lamb.
He did worse than I expected, honestly. Like I'm looking
really?
I didn't think he would go to CeeDee Lamb. He performed way too well in 2019 for that to happen. The biggest issue was the injury to Dak. So it's like, well,
it's like no one can get the ball to him anymore. I mean, the value of Dak is definitely being seen.
The Cowboys to me reminded me of the Rams in the last few years before they got rid of Cooks, where it's like you have 3 receivers. Any given week, you don't know who's going to go off.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a risk about it.
It's still annoying. Because when I see Cup going nuts and I've got Woods in my lineup.
I mean, overall, I'm looking at all of Ryan's trades here, and he made some good moves, like trading David Lamar Miller for a third-round pick,
That was
only for Lamar Miller to get cut a few days later.
That was hilarious. There was absolutely no reason to do that.
No, I'm curious how this linebacker trade turned out, because before the season, he sent Mika Kaiser to Year of the Sandwich, who gave up Jerome Baker. So straight up linebacker for linebacker deal. And the winner, whoever doesn't have to start either of them, it looks like. Neither of them did particularly well.
Good old pointless trades.
Baker has been healthier, but on an average, Kaiser has been better. I don't know. Yeah, so that's sort of pointless. But I am curious. Like, it would be a tremendous amount of work for me to do this, but to reconstruct Ryan's roster with like certain trades we're not going to make, leave this still here. Like, basically, I wouldn't and see what the optimal thing was, how many points he could have gotten doing that. But that would have been a huge pain in the ass. But it'd be interesting.
Yeah, he could have made things easy for himself and just like as Denver's recommending, just grabbed up Ben DiNucci and everything would have been just fine. But sometimes people just the foresight's not there, Phil.
Yeah.
How many games did that guy play?
Sorry, Ben DiNucci. Yeah. He played one game.
Was it only one?
I think so.
I thought he played two.
Maybe. But
anyone know if he played one or two? I don't know. He was garbage in both. I know if it's two, it's garbage in both. It was one, he was garbage in one.
All right, well, let's talk about the matchups we've got going on this week.
All right, let me throw up before we get into to get into that.
Throw up. You've only had one Bud Light.
There we go. This is the playoff bracket for FOMFA. What are we looking at here? Week 14, we got Jayville going against the Cobras. We got Cloud to Ground going against Ron Mexico. Some fun matchups.
Yeah, I mean, the Jayville Cobras matchup, let's start there. That one has a big spread as far as the site is concerned so far for a playoff game. It is huge. Common you see a 22-point spread in a playoff game.
That is huge.
Now, part of this is just because over the season, Colorado has been the better team. They've scored about 120 more points than Jayville has.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other part is Colorado's points. Again, we've spoken to depth on their team that doesn't really exist. We're in the playoffs now. There are no bye weeks. And if his team is healthy, Colorado's got a pretty good lineup out there.
He's firing at all cylinders.
Or so I thought. I'm looking at his lineup, and I'm a little more in doubt about it now. Russell Wilson, been great at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Lately, kind of been...
Yeah.
You look weird. At week 9 onwards, he's actually been one of the bottom QBs in the league.
Yeah, that loss to the Giants, it was just like, come on, man, you should be carving this up.
Yeah, he has
playing this week.
Other than the Rams, who we barely got positive points against, he hasn't faced any particularly challenging pass defenses. They haven't been awful, but they haven't been really good either. And he still hasn't done anything. I don't really know what's wrong with him lately.
Yeah, it's like the year started off with the whole let Russ cook, and he was like in the MVP conversation quite a bit. Like when I sold Russell Wilson, it was like, well, actually no, I sold him preseason, my bad. But he was one of the players that did really well for Israel's team. So, but I mean, he's going up against the Jets.
Yeah, that's hopefully helpful.
If there's any way to turn it around, I think the Jets is the way to go. So that should be helpful for sure.
But he's also got in his lineup, David Johnson, who is fine, but he's not great. Russell Gage, Alan Lazard.
What's going on here? He's got better receivers than this. So maybe he hasn't made the decision on. Actually, no, he doesn't have Julio anymore. I'm trying to figure out who else is on his team. Like I know he had better receivers than this. Israel, you're watching. Tell me why aren't you putting those receivers? Like I'm trying. Like who are we missing here?
Yeah, it's not looking great. But the good news is Derrick Henry is amazing.
Who is he playing?
Sorry?
Who is he playing, Derrick Henry?
Henry's going up against the Jaguars and their 30th ranked rush defense.
Ooh, man,
So that's a juicy matchup right there.
I got a bye week in the other league, which I'm very happy about.
Aaron Jones going up against the Lions and their 28th ranked rushing defense this week.
Jesus Christ.
Robert Woods, decent pass defense. Woods is an interesting one because when you watch Rams games, they are obsessed with throwing to Cooper Kupp nonstop. But then once they get in the red zone, Kupp is just out of the game. He's not even in the formations at the red zone. So Woods doesn't get quite the catches, but at least he tends to get like some opportunities, and he still gets targets. It's not quite as many as Kupp, but it's actually impressive that you have someone who's peppered with as many targets as Kupp is, and yet still over the last 3 weeks, Woods has gotten 38 targets.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And for a team that's still kind of a run offense.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah. Well, Woods goes through the, what do you call that? The jet sweep where he runs behind and could option to Woods to run or to a running back. That's usually Woods in that formation. And I found, because I watch him like a hawk because I have him on my Ben White team, that's where he gets a lot of his gets kind of going.
Yeah, Woods has 115 rushing yards on the season. How often does a wide receiver get that many? But on the other side of things here, Justin Herbert has been nuts, except last week where he was negative. That was a huge drop off. Coming off after a Bills game where he was good, but not great. After a mammoth run of like just absolute domination.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm one of the few people who probably is a bit bitter about Herbert's performance because it's fun to see him do this. But on the other hand, before the season, I just on a whim I was like 29-1 odds on Justin Jefferson running Rookie of the Year, huh? I'll throw $2 on that. And
that's still in play, though. That's still very much in play.
It's in play, but it's still pretty much Herbert's award to lose. Unless he just completely shits the bed over the last few weeks, I think he's got that. But
yeah.
So, I mean, that's a minor irritation. But his game against the Patriots, 53 passing attempts and only getting 209 yards out of those 53 attempts.
Yeah.
2 picks out of it, And the surprising thing is, what's his face was back. The running Eckler was back for that game.
Yeah,
he had more weapons and still got just destroyed. Now, I think he'll bounce back. I think part of this is Bill Belichick has some weird ability sometimes to see things other people don't and scheme for them.
Yeah.
So what I think happened here is he probably saw some minor flaw or tell in the way Herbert was playing his game. Like he watched all sorts of tape and saw, oh, I see what he's doing. This is giving away his pass or whatever. Told the whole team. Herbert had his game ruined. But as long as the rest of the NFL doesn't figure it out, he can bounce back. I don't have a lot of evidence for that theory. But
he's going up against the Atlanta secondary too. Like if there's any situation to bounce back against, that's a good situation.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good game for him. The rest of his team, it's the wide receivers are nuts. You got Metcalf, you got Robinson, you got Adam Thielen, and at running back, David Montgomery has looked competent all of a sudden over the last little while.
I know.
I don't know what happened after several weeks of 2.7 yards per carry, 2.9 yards per carry. Last season, not doing particularly well. And then,
last 2 games.
Yeah.
Exploded the last 2 games.
And not just to get the stats, but watching those games, you remember, did you see that run where he got the touchdown
where he just barreled through everybody?
Yeah.
There's no way he should have gotten that touchdown. He just beat everybody up.
Now, one of the good news stories here for Paul is that David Montgomery's remaining schedule for the playoffs is Texans 31st ranked run defense, Vikings 19th, and then Jaguars 30th.
Yeah.
This is pretty much an ideal thing here for Montgomery. And most of
they can't complete passes, so he's going to get a lot of opportunity.
Most of Paul's matchups are good. Like Herbert is 28th ranked pass defense this week, 23 next week. Ronald Jones is largely mediocre run defenses. The biggest risk is, frankly, DK Metcalf. Metcalf has been great all season, but after he demolishes the Jets this week, he faces the football team, who have had a very good pass defense so far, and then goes against the number 1 pass defense in the Rams, who the last time he played with the Rams was just shadowed and got 2 catches for 28 yards.
Yeah.
So
well, that's also the story of the Seahawks, right? It's like it's either, I mean, lately it's been just nobody because Russ has been bad, but when he's been good, it's been like Metcalf or Lockett, and it's a very annoying thing to be the owner of either of those players.
But this week, Jayville's matchups are all great.
Yeah, he's in a good position.
So I don't agree with this 23 point down or whatever we're seeing here.
Yeah.
I think Jayville has a good chance of winning this thing.
Well, Israel's not going to be happy to hear that. I mean, he's got posing the question. What do you think? Pick your 3 out of his wide receivers.
I mean,
Gage, Hamler, Inman, Lazard, Sanders, Sims, and Robert Woods. So out of those,
well, let's start by getting Robert Woods out of the way. You don't bench Robert Woods.
Yeah. So Robert Woods, but that's the only one that's a must start out of these.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Lazard is questionable at the moment. You never know what the Green Bay defense is going or offense is going to do and who they're going to throw to. But they're playing Detroit.
Let's spread it out.
I honestly, like, I don't have a good answer here. None of these I don't want to throw any of these people.
I feel like that's Israel's point. There isn't a good answer, but he's going to have to hope his running backs kind of carry them, I feel. But I do agree with you that this is an unrealistic spread in my opinion. I feel like a lot of this is coming from the defense too. The defensive projections, which I don't ever trust out of the site. So
I will say I would be starting Emmanuel Sanders over Russell Gage. The reason I would be doing that is because they're both facing fairly good pass defenses, but the Chargers' pass defense is less one guy is elite and the rest are okay. That's how the Eagles are set up. They have Darius Slay, who will be covering Michael Thomas, and then everyone else just hopes to handle their guy.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, Sanders might actually get some potential targets there. The downside is since what's his face took over, I want to say Hill. Is that his name? No, the QB. Taysom Hill, yeah. Since he took over, they're passing more than I think people thought, but there's still so much of a risk of him scrambling that the passing opportunities are still going to go down somewhat. So, I mean, I still think I would do it just based on my knowledge of the Eagles and thinking that, like, Roby Coleman or someone covering him is not going to be great, and I think he'll get some opportunities. But, you know, I'm not certain about that call.
Yeah, there's not like it's definitely like either call could go, but who knows? Yeah, so you're thinking that they're going to pull this out? That Jayville's going to pull this out?
I think Jayville is going to pull this out.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna lean to Israel's side. I think it's going to be way closer than this, though. I think this is going to be a battle.
So if this were the spread, you'd still be taking Jayville, but like you'd think Colorado will win.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, if we're choosing this as a spread, then yeah, I'd take Jayville to cover the spread, but I do think Colorado wins this game. But I think it's going to be damn goddamn close. It should be fun. That's what a playoff game should be, right?
It'll be interesting, and yeah, when digging into it for sure, it looks like it looks a lot closer, and like it's going to be more interesting game than the site thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next game that we've got happening this week in FOMFA, assuming we're not going to spend too much, if any, time talking about the loser bowl that got set up.
Wait, don't we have Cloud to Ground versus Raw Mexico?
Assuming we're not talking about that, this is the other game.
We're not talking about the loser bowl.
So Jason versus David.
There we go.
If you managed to throw, like with me thrown into this bracket, we managed to pick who might be 3 of the most disliked teams in the league. And one of us has to make the finals. So, I think at this point, everyone is just rooting straight up for the International Conference.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think of this game. Like, This almost was the Canada conference if it wasn't for that discussion we just had on Jordan Reed getting that garbage time TD.
That would have been nice. Shipping this trophy is going to be real. I brought this up. It's going to be real fucking expensive for whoever wants this thing.
Well, they got to pay for the shipping. That's part of it.
And if it was like an all Canada, it's like at least some Canadian.
Yeah, you drop it off.
Something that we could just drive it to someone's house. There's no
exactly.
As of now, Ryan's out of it, so it's like either I keep it, which is the easiest shipping method possible, or maybe David comes and picks it up. Other than that, this is going to be pricey. But so far, everyone has said that they're willing to pay it just so that they can rub it down the rest of or shove it down the rest of our throats.
Oh, and look how obnoxiously big. It's so festive today.
It is
how
very
obnoxiously big your trophy is. That is an obnoxiously big trophy.
I can't even see all of it. Like if I have to pan down to get it all in.
Like that one that I drew up, which was basically this shortened with the cone on top. Like it was still shorter than that. That's still like that much taller.
Yeah, because since I ordered it and I found a code for a free ring or whatever that you've seen before, I felt bad about getting something free, so I put more of my money into making the trophy more gigantic.
I see.
For everybody else. So
if I do win the trophy, I might put a little bit of extra in to make it for the Benoit trophy.
Yeah. So this game, this is a tight one.
Yeah.
I don't even know who I don't know which team I would rather play next week because Christian McCaffrey next week is definitely back. And I don't want to deal with that.
Is he though? Like, why would Carolina do that? Like,
if he's healthy, there's no teams don't just say, we know you're healthy, but we kind of suck, so we're not playing you anymore.
There's no load management in football like we did for Kawhi Leonard in basketball.
There should be, there isn't. So if McCaffrey is back, he's back.
If there's any sport where there should be, it should be football. They will literally one play can end your career. Jesus.
But I don't want to play either of these teams.
Yeah, this is not a good look for you.
Real good.
These are tough teams.
And even setting aside the idea of who would I more likely beat, I don't want to lose to either of them because, as I said in the chat, it would just be so irritating. Just David or Jason rubbing it in endlessly after that.
I feel like it'd be worse if it's David just because he's around.
Here's the thing, though. If David beats me, I still think he'd find a way to fuck up in the final, so it wouldn't be quite the same. Whereas if Jason wins, I trust him more to actually win it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But damn, like they just very good teams all around.
Now, I'm thinking I like Jason more this week. He's got the better quarterback. Assuming CMC isn't back, he's got the better running backs if you ignore, for some reason, Leonard Fournette is in. I think that's just because Jason's wide receiver depth isn't great right now. But he is dealing with a lot of injuries. There's no guarantee Chris Godwin comes back this week. Though it does, never mind. Reading some new news, practice is in full on Thursday. So I've got some decisions to make in another league because it looks like Chris Godwin is back. But Josh Jacobs, how's he doing? Resumes practicing. So, I mean, that sounds
looking up at the right time.
Yeah, so this is promising. I think Jacobs is still questionable, but I think Godwin's definitely going to play at this point. But yeah, this is when you look at. I think one of the key things here, though, interestingly, is the defense, where David has actually prided himself on his defense so far this year.
Yeah,
they have performed pretty admirably.
They've gotten some big wins.
He's gotten good performances out of them. I still actually like Jason's defense better. Roquan Smith terrifies me. Zadarius Smith when he's playing. Actually, he has played lately. I'm saying
he has.
Yeah.
He's been good.
He puts up points. Jamal Adams is always a constant threat. I don't know. Overall, this is just it's a really tight matchup, and I think I'm taking Jason on the QB advantage and the tight end advantage. but David's got the better receivers. I think the defenses are basically a wash. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
What's Tyler Boyd been doing lately?
He's still been playing. He's been playing fine.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he had a bad outing against the Giants, but
and let's clarify. Against the Dolphins, he got 12 points, but it was on one catch.
Yeah,
catch that went 72 yards for a touchdown. Targeted only 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm doing Godwin instead of Boyd. I'm happy I did this analysis because I have both of these in another league.
Yeah, like I don't know if I feel good about. He's going up against Dallas, which helps.
Yeah, but
again,
Dallas's pass defense has gotten better since the beginning of the season. The run defense is still just atrocious.
Well, actually, their pass defense right now is ranked 6th.
Yeah, I see it's ranked 6th. I don't trust that ranking. I never know how the rankings work on the site. I guess it's points allowed to wide receivers, so it's fantasy based. But it started out the season. They allowed 37 points, 43 points, 34 points, and then 25, 18, 33, 21, 28, 44, 36, 30. Okay, I don't know. They're all over the place here. Last week, they allowed only 12 points to receivers. So it's not looking at the defense as a whole. It's looking specifically at points to receivers here. Yeah, but they're not as bad as I would have thought, admittedly. So,
yeah, I tend to agree. I think you probably get. I think Clattegram probably pulls it out, but I don't know, man.
The wild card might be Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
McCaffrey comes back. Like he averages like almost 30 points.
Yeah,
it's insane what that man does.
McCaffrey by himself could win this game. And also, like Brady's had a couple of those monster performances.
Brady has maybe the best playoff schedule of any quarterback.
Wonderful.
Vikings in week 14, Falcons in week 15, Lions in week 16.
Yeah. I like that.
Outside of that game against the Saints, I mean, he's had a couple of these aren't great games, but outside of the terrible one against the Saints, he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Admittedly, like you're saying, up and down, and I think David is going to always have the risk of starting the wrong quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Picking himself over it. So Josh Allen, I think the reason he's starting Brady, and I think it's a good call. Allen is the opposite. He has a brutal playoff schedule. Steelers this week, and that's a clear Brady start. Broncos weren't a good team, but their pass defense has been admirable. And then Patriots, who sort of average, but all of Brady's matchups have been are ideal. So I think going forward, this is the Brady show for David if he makes it any further than the first round.
Live and die by Brady.
Yep.
So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I think Clattegram probably edges it out. I would have to agree. I think it'll be a good game though. I think it's going to be. There's a lot of levers that could make this that could turn one way or the other for either team, and high potential for that to happen. So should be interesting.
Yeah,
I like it. Playoff week. I like it.
It's a big week.
What do you think, man? Should we rebrand? Get into the Ben Wyatt?
Yeah, that sounds good. And if Denver's paying any attention, we can bring him into the chat.
I think Denver's still around. Denver, send a message if you're.
I think he told you to message him, didn't he?
No, I told him I'd message him, but I just want to make sure he's still around. But here comes a rebrand. Oh, that's always exciting. Ben Wyatt. All right. Should we throw up the playoff picture?
Yeah, I mean, this one is
bam.
We definitely got some interesting games here. Where should we start? I guess it depends if Denver's around.
Yeah, let me send him a message. Let me send him the link. If he's around, he'll jump in. Copy the clipboard. Well, he sent the link, and I'll see if he pops in. But if not, I think we can keep talking. Maybe we could start with we'll start with Scranton and South Park then.
All right, well that works for me.
Number 4 and 5 teams. Winner gets me. So this is the matchup we're talking about.
So the good news for Scranton is Jonathan Taylor has stopped sucking. That's sort of huge. Now, it's only been 2 games. It's been 2 games of him looking like a competent running back, and I still don't fully trust him. I would like to see a better performance, but if he performs well in Week 14, I think the Colts lean on him more going into Week 15 against the Texans and their 31st ranked rush defense. So I think this is a big game for Taylor and a big game, obviously, for Scranton. But I think the key components are there for hopefully a good performance. Now, Edwards-Helaire, you know what? He pronounced it that way. So
He did?
yeah, he did it. I don't know their own name wrong.
I'm confident pronouncing his name.
So, I mean, he's coming off a week where they had him active, but then didn't give him a snap. So it's a bit of a tricky situation here. I mean, he's practicing in full. He should be fine, but it may be that the Chiefs are doing like the whole load management thing you were just talking about. That doesn't happen when there's nothing left to play for in a season. Like the Panthers will run CMC into the ground because they're not worried about the playoffs. Yeah. And for some reason, they don't concern themselves with future seasons. But the Chiefs are in a situation where they are going to be worried about the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting if he's even having any lingering effects at all. You might see more of LaShawn McCoy than you typically would have expected.
Or Le'Veon Bell.
Or that's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, I think last week, if I remember correctly, it might have been illness. But then why would they activate him? So I don't know. I have no idea.
You're right. No, it was an illness. So I guess you're right. I'm wrong on this one. Maybe that. Hopefully he plays.
Yeah,
and I don't see why he wouldn't. So that's looking a little better, I guess. And then finally we got James Conner. It's a bit of a tougher matchup against a tough Washington defensive line there.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's going up against the Bills this week. My bad. I was looking at the wrong week. The Bills are not actually performing that well as a defense. I thought they would do really well going into the year.
I'm surprised about that too.
They have not played well. So these are some good matchups over here. He's got Ben Roethlisberger starting also against the Bills. So that's looking pretty good. Mm-hmm. Corey Davis is facing the Jaguars. Great matchup there.
Corey Davis has been great too.
We've talked about DK Metcalf long-term, not a great option for the playoffs, but week 1 against the Jets, that's going to be huge. And then finally, Mike Williams against the Falcons. These are some great matchups that Scranton's seeing on the offensive side of the ball here.
Scranton's looking like they're in okay shape.
Yeah, and even their tight end, Johnny Smith, going up against the 27th ranked team against the tight end, the Jaguars. So all of that's looking good. Arizona is playing the Giants this week, so the coaching situation is looking pretty good. Though I would say that the Giants surprise people.
Yeah, the Giants over the last few weeks have been pretty solid.
Largely on the back of their defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they might. It's probably not going to be a blowout, but Cliff Kingsbury, I think, will still probably get some points. Now he won't get as many points as Pete Carroll is going to get because Pete Carroll is facing the Jets this week.
Yeah. So
that is a huge advantage for Chris there in terms of coaching.
It's such a nice thing to see that your coach is going against one of your coaches is going against the Jets. Like that's a must start, and I've had it at least 3 times, I think, or twice at least, and it's been wonderful.
and looking at Lamar Jackson now, Lamar Jackson hasn't had a good season so far.
He hasn't had a Lamar Jackson.
Really disappointing the people who drafted him early, or the people who paid him $30.05 million.
He had a nice outing week 13 though.
But yes, nice outing in week 13. And you look at his performances, and he's had a brutal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
After week 1 against the Browns, where he had a good game, until this week against the Browns again, he faced only one team who ranked worse than 12th.
Mm-hmm.
3rd, 4th, 4th, 9th, 12th, 7th, 3rd, and then we got the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
This has been just a horrible schedule for him. Now, the good news is he's facing Browns 22nd, Jaguars 27th in week 15, And then the Giants, who actually have been improving, so that's not going to be great. But
torched Cleveland the first time they played. So.
Yeah. So I mean, that's looking promising. The downside is, well, Zeke has a good matchup this week against the Bengals. Since Dak went out, he has been an average at best quarterback.
Just sad or something.
I don't think there is a chance. Like, even if you gave me 20-1 odds or something at the beginning of the season, if you told me there was a stretch where Zeke would go, let's see here, 8 games without injury and not score a rushing touchdown, I would have been like, yeah, I'm not taking it. Of course they'll score a touchdown. Like,
so that has to be just because they're not getting down the field, right?
Yeah, they're not. Their offense is just stalling horribly. Yeah. But in addition to them not getting down the field, the defense knows exactly focus on that guy. Like, just stack
He's the only guy
with the because
he's the only guy. Just stop that guy.
So yeah, it hasn't been good for him. But against the Bengals, the hope is that the Bengals are bad enough right now that Dallas gets an early lead. They just run Zeke into the ground. So there is potential there. I think the key matchup that you're going to want to watch in this game is basically watching the Colts game, because, well, we mentioned Jonathan Taylor and his comeback. Chris has Nyheim Hines starting for him. Mm-hmm. As much as Taylor has looked,
that's really fun. That's fun. I like that.
I think Hines is going to start losing work at this point, because Hines has not been efficient with running the ball, other than that one surprising week against the Titans where he just went off. He is used out of the backfield to catch passes, and he will be continued to do so. But as long as Taylor shows something in terms of catching, he'll keep getting more of those opportunities, and Hines will be brought in less and less. Mm-hmm. So, this is – I think he'll still get some points, but I think Taylor's probably going to win that matchup this week. Ronald Jones, the downside there is that all of Tampa Bay's remaining games are against teams with horrible pass defenses but reasonable offenses. So they're going to have to throw the ball not just to keep up, but because it's an effective play. And when they're throwing the ball, Ronald Jones isn't in the game quite as much. They tend to, on passing situations, rely on Leonard Fournette a little more, and Jones when it's more of a running situation. So South Park, outside of the coaching situation, South Park's matchups aren't really looking great here.
Yeah, it's not a good situation for your first playoff game. Like even KC's defense has been pretty solid, and he's got Devontae Parker going up against them.
Yeah, and Cole Beasley up against the Steelers.
Cole Beasley's. This is not. Well, I mean, in the position that Cole Beasley is in, kind of in a bailout position, he might. Man, he's still not gonna. It's the
Steelers are one of the few teams that aren't just like you have your good running back. Their entire secondary is just really good. Yeah, so Beasley, you can usually sort of ignore pass rankings because it's like, they have their main guys who cover the top 2 receivers, but the slot receiver is usually some other idiot. That's not the case with the Steelers. The Steelers have 3 really good corners. So I think Beasley basically gets shut down. Yeah. We'll see what happens. But I mean, if the reason Beasley typically gets the volume he does is because quarterbacks will look around, find no one else is open, and dump it off to Beasley.
Yeah. That's what happened last week.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I think it's really not going to work out well for Chris.
Yeah, I don't Chris is saying it's either Hines or AP. I don't know, man. AP's still getting points.
If Swift isn't playing, I would put Peterson.
Yeah. Is Swift questionable?
I don't know. I don't think he played last week, but if he's not playing, I put in Peterson. But otherwise, I think Hines is the right call. Mm-hmm. I do like Chris's defense better. I mean, there's some good points. Actually, now that I'm looking at it more, maybe I don't. Scranton's got a good defense.
Yeah.
Stephon Tuitt, like Darius Leonard, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, like these are all real good players.
They both have good defenses.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like they're the Stranglers is edging it out, though.
Yeah, and given the offensive situation, I am Well, I'm rooting, as I mentioned, I'm rooting for Chris to barely win on the backs of someone like Rob Gronkowski. So it could be like, there you go, Chris. The trade was totally worth it. It got you further in the playoffs. Because so far the trade Chris made with me hasn't helped them at all. I looked back through all the scores. It hasn't made a difference. So hopefully that happens. But but I don't think he's going to pull it off. I hope he does. But I think Scranton wins this.
I feel like I'm in the same boat. I am rooting for Chris, even though he is my rival.
I mean, he's lost 19 consecutive games in the other league.
You gotta hope for
19 or 21 consecutive games. So you gotta root for that guy when he's got a team that's doing it.
I would like him to do well this week and then get thoroughly pummeled the next week. That would be lovely.
All right. We've heard from Denver, but I guess we don't get a guest appearance from him.
Denver's here.
Oh, he's here.
Vegas.
And hold on with the segue. I'm calling Scranton for this week.
I really thought you were going to get a custom Las Vegas Gamblers hat that you're going to put on. And I was going to be really excited for that.
I wish. I'm working on it.
We're rocking a Dunder Mifflin hat. God damn.
So how are you feeling about your matchup this week, Denver?
It all depends on today.
Is Waco your rival too?
They are.
That's crazy. Is this the only one that's like a rival matchup?
That is.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I'm 0-2 against them this year, so good time to get a win.
You're due.
You're due.
In the other league, this is my concern. I'm 3-0 against the teams remaining in the playoffs, but I'm like, I shouldn't be 3-0 against teams that good. I've got to lose one of these games.
And I'm 0-3 against the teams on my side of the bracket. So
there you go. And your team's not that bad. You can't continue to lose. So.
I don't like this "they're due" argument, by the way, because that means that I'm due.
You are due for a loss. You shouldn't be 13-0. Your team is good. But throughout FOMFA's history, no one was ever 13-0. You do it in the first year by barely outscoring multiple other teams.
Yeah. Stop it. I am not due.
You almost lost to Chicago.
I did almost lose to Chicago. And I almost lost to Malibu was expected. Malibu was good. Almost losing to Chicago. Don't worry, I gave my team a good talking to. They've showed up the last 2 weeks.
All right, Denver, how are you feeling about I guess that like you're up against Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, a key component in both leagues this week, I guess.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on him going against the Jets?
I'm hoping that he gets me more than 10 points this week because he's done that like 2 weeks in a row, and it's been too close. No, I did win last week, but 2 weeks ago I lost to Waco, and I think it ended up being like maybe 10 points after coaches, maybe even less than that. So if he would have done even 10 more points, it would have been right on the nose there. I would have had a chance to maybe not have a bye, but at least win my division. And I think against the Jets, he'll get me that extra 10 points, hopefully.
It's the right game to bounce back. I feel like we're going to see a big game out of Russ.
The concern that you have to worry about here is just if the Seattle is like, why do we even bother passing the ball? What advantage is there passing against this team?
You gotta kick off with a lead. They're gonna Russ is gonna want to cook.
Yeah, get him about 25 points, 30 points. He'll leave in the end of the third quarter. Take a break.
Have a little Chris Carson time for the rest of the game.
Well, the other concern, I mean, your team is like, I look at it, Denver, and on the surface, I actually like this matchup for you. I look at the players and I think I would pick Denver's team. But there are a lot of question marks that I see here. One is how Russell Wilson has been playing lately. The other is Alvin Kamara, given how he has played since Taysom Hill took the job.
Right.
Over the last Kamara had a total of 3 catches.
Is this Hill's fourth game or third?
Fourth, because the first 3 games, I just look at Kamara. He had 7 catches, and then he had 0, and it's very easy for me to tell where Taysom Hill came into play.
Right, yeah. 0, 1, and 2.
Yeah,
yeah, that is a concern. But I mean, it's him or carry on. So
Yeah.
And the good news is the Eagles, well, their defense should be good, keep having to defend a million drives because Wentz just turns over the ball. And as much as Wentz isn't there anymore, they've got Hurts. He did not actually look any better. Like,
Hurts is not the magic man. The problem with the Eagles runs way deeper than Wentz. It's not
right. All excited to try something, but he did not look any better. So as long as he puts the ball over in the red zone, Kamara may feast. So there's some hope there.
I'm hoping, like you said, no catches 2 weeks ago, up to 1, then up to 2. So maybe he'll jump up to 3 at least.
Now, the other side of this coin, with some weird question marks there, David Montgomery started out as like, he's not doing well, but he might get occasional touchdowns, or he'll have some surprising catches out of the backfield because what's his face isn't there this year. My guy who's just on IR, I've forgotten his name. The other Tariq Cohen. Yeah.
Tariq Cohen.
So Montgomery has just been catching passes, which he's sort of relied on for a bunch of points. But over the last few weeks, he has looked like a good running back. And he is now going against one of the worst run defenses in the league. So there's a chance at a big game here for you.
So when I made this trade, I knew I was already in the playoffs. I mean, I still could have missed. It was that mathematical.
It was
I have to lose every week and not be in the top 8, and Houston had to win and be in the top 8. And I knew that Montgomery had these playoff games coming up. So I said, all right, if I send out my first-round pick next year, I'm getting rid of Odell, I'm getting a running back, I'm getting Jarvis Landry, I'm getting people who can help me in the playoffs. Because once I hit that point where I knew I was going to make it, I needed to say, okay, well, is just making it enough, or am I going to try and push so I can lose to Jam in the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for that outcome.
Yeah, that trade definitely looked good for you because even Montgomery aside, I mean, Landry has been doing real well over the last couple of weeks too.
Yeah, I really like your matchup, man. Like I think this is I think the due is going to work out. West Waco's got a solid team, but he's got Chubb and Akers both going up against decent rush defenses. Tannehill's probably gonna feast a bit, but then you got Russ who can also feast because it's Jacksonville over Jets. Yeah, I'm liking this. I think like it's gonna be a tough game, but I think you're in a good spot.
I hope so. I'd like to move on because then I'd face Malibu, who beat me the last time we played. But
Malibu hasn't been as strong in recent weeks.
Yeah, Malibu in the second half of the season really sort of collapsed.
Well, a lot of Malibu's big performances were on Kyler Murray's big performances, who hasn't been very good recently. Like it was really hinged on how well Murray plays. I mean, he's not playing this week, but he's got Kyler Murray against the Giants this week. But I don't know, like because it was pretty neck and neck for top scoring between me and Malibu, where he was ahead of me most of the time. And the last 2 weeks, it's just like it hasn't even been close. So I feel like, I mean, at least the trend for Malibu is not great.
Yeah, and I know I got some flack in the chat today for my most recent pickup of Lance Lynn.
Who?
I don't know if I'm starting him this week. I picked him up because I'm that unsure. Bruce Arians against the Vikings. I just know Dalvin Cook how he is, or Lynn with the Chargers and Herbert on a bounce back after like 4 points last week for me in my other league against the Falcons.
You know what you've got to do, but Arians is the favorite going into this game against Minnesota. The Chargers have won a total of 3 games all season against the Bengals, the Jets, and the Jaguars.
And the Falcons fall in that category.
The Falcons are not as bad as either of those 3 teams.
Yes, they are. They're worse than the Bengals when the Bengals have Joe Burrow.
I don't know if that's true in the first game of the season when Burrow is getting used to the NFL, but Yeah, I mean, whatever you think is going to work, but I see why people are hesitant. The Chargers are a team that I keep thinking should be good, and then we keep finding unique and creative ways to lose the game.
Well, that's the problem too. Is like if they do, by that token, if they do win, it'll be a close win, and
Right.
be a bigger than that win.
This is also, I remind you, coming off a 45-0 loss.
Oh my god! Well, like you said, man, Belichick just got into Herbert's head, found a way to make him to neutralize him.
I gotta gamble.
It's kind
of gamblers, man. I gotta roll the dice.
It's kind of funny looking at his status of like South Park had him all season, dropped him. He's a free agent, loses 45-0, and then Denver's like, you know what? That's the sort of leadership I want on my squad.
Bounce back.
I'm shocked the Cleveland guy was still there, like in free agency. Like, who dropped him? Someone must have dropped him. He wasn't there in the beginning.
Who picked him up?
South Park did. After all that bullshit about the Lions dude, he drops him like the next.
Those are the situations I just loathe as a commissioner because it's like it doesn't matter what I pick. Someone is going to be pissed off.
Well, Chris is saying sometimes he wishes coaches get named. Well, no. Imagine you got negative 45.
Oh my god.
So Stefanski was dropped by Hollywood, basically because like they were in week 13 and he was on a bye. So either they make it and they're probably weren't planning on starting him going forward, or they don't make it and it doesn't matter that they drop him anyway.
Yeah.
So Jam, well, let's start with Denver. You can't pick the other team. So how much are you going to win by this week? And you can't say negative whatever and get around my rules that way.
What's the spread here? 13.8.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, it's even less than that now, or more. I don't know.
I still see 13.8.
All right, cool. I'm gonna win by 6. It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be a 6-point win.
I was honestly going to say the exact same thing. I was going to pick Denver by 6. So
are we all picking Denver? I'm picking Denver by 3.8.
3
Well,
points.
my cat's also picking me, man. He's here. He's named after a piece of football equipment. His name's Helmet. So,
The look on his face is like he's not rooting for you.
Because he was laying down like he already is again, and I picked him up. He was like, "I hate you. You moved me."
Cats are never rooting for you. Cats are always rooting for your opponent.
Always rooting for your downfall.
But I think, like I said at the beginning, a lot of this is going to come down to tonight. He's a 13-point favorite. His players are projected to score 30 tonight. And I don't think Akers gets the 11.6, and I don't think that Troy Reader gets more than 5. So,
well, the other big key is going to be Belichick.
I think the Rams win, so
you really need the Rams to win. I
do. That'd give them a 0, and we'd be off to a good start.
But you need the Rams to win without Cam Akers really doing anything.
All Robert Woods.
Do you have Robert Woods, or are you just randomly wanting?
I have him in another league.
Okay.
So I want Robert Woods.
I'm all for more Robert Wood points, even though.
Or Eckler. Eckler's back, right? Or is he on the Chargers? He's on the Chargers. He's
not in this game, and also not in this NFL game.
Yeah, I get the LAs mixed up sometimes. That's why I picked up Lance Lynn.
All right, man. Well, good luck to you, dude.
Thanks,
tonight's going to be big. We're apparently all 3 of us picking you. So let's see how it goes.
The cat is for Waco. So
let's see what
he bit me when I said it, so we know that's his pick.
Cat's a bit of a dick right now, man. He's got to root for the home team.
Yeah, can't go against the house. You're right. All right, guys.
Take it easy, dude. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yep.
Later.
All right. We got anything else we want to chat?
Did we cover both games?
I think so. We started with the other one.
Oh, yes, we did. Well, it's gonna be fun. There's some implications in tonight's games, so looking forward to that.
They're all alone on a boat.
Yeah, and they got the implication. Yeah, I think that covers it, man. Good luck to everybody in week 1 of the playoffs. I will be. This is the first week I'm not starting in either league. Actually, no, I'm starting in FOMFan now that we got the Losers Bowl going. I don't know why I'm participating. I'm clearly worse than all three.
You're not going to win that.
I won it last year. It's time to give back a little bit. It's fun. I was kind of hoping we get 6.
Neither of my teams are playing this week, but at least in some other leagues where there aren't bye weeks and I'm in the playoffs, those are the ones I got to worry about.
Yeah. So good luck to everyone, and then next week onwards, good luck to only me and Phil.
All right. See everyone later.
All right, guys.